This is going to be the last question we are taking on substitution as a subheading to change of subject formula. That question says that from the right angle triangle, this right angle triangle, now we should find the value of A, the hypotenuse, when C is 2.5 cm and B is 6 cm. This is a right angle triangle. This side of the right angle triangle that is opposite the right angle is called the hypotenuse. And there's a formula that says, that means we are doing question number A now, that is square of the hypotenuse, square of this side A. Sorry, the hypotenuse is represented by A there. That the square of A, which is the hypotenuse, is equal to the square of the sum of the square of the other sides. That means the square of C plus the square of B will give you the square of A in a right angle triangle. Now the question says that we should find the value of A, or the value of the hypotenuse, when they have given us the value of C and B. So from here, our A is going to be C squared. C has been given to be 2.5. So we have 2.5 plus B has been given to be 6. So we have 6 squared, 2.5 squared. It's something as A squared, which is the hypotenuse. A squared is equal to, this means 2.5 times 2.5, and it's going to give you 6.25. Use a calculator and multiply 2.5 by itself. It's going to give you 6.5. Plus 6 squared means 6 times 6, and 6 times 6 is 36. That is the value of A squared. You are going to sum this together. You are going to have 0.25. 6 plus 6 is 36. Write 6, raise 1. Sorry, raise 6 plus 6. Okay, sorry, 6 plus 6 is 12. Write 2 and raise 1. That 1 plus this 3 will give you 4. So adding 6.25 and 36 will give you 42.25. Remember, that is the value of A squared. Then only A is taking the square root of both sides. The square root of A squared is A. And it's going to be equal to the square root of 42.25. Either using your calculator or any other means, you discover that the square root of 42.25 is 6.5. That means A is going to be 6.5 centimeters, as the figures are given in centimeters. Now the B part of the question says that we should find the value of C, this side, when A, the hypotenuse is 16, and B squared is 60. Some students used to make mistake in this kind of thing. Here we are given the value of B squared, not the value of B, to be 60. Pay attention to how I'm going to handle it. Question number B. Question number B. Our equation is A squared is equal to C squared plus B squared. The question gave us A to be 16. So we have 16 squared is equal to, it gave us B to B squared to be 60. So what we are looking for is C. So we have C squared plus 60. Don't square this 60. This 60 is the value of B squared, not B. But had it been you were given only B to be 60, that is where you have the attorney to square it. Now make C the subject of the formula. Subtract 60 from both sides. That is the only thing you will do to leave only C squared on the right hand side of the equation. So you're going to have C squared here, and 16 squared is going to give you 16 squared minus 60. Now use your calculator to find the value of 16 squared. 16 squared means 16 times 16. 16 times 16. 256. So we have 256 minus 60 is the value of c squared. Subtract 60 from 256 minus 60, 196. So we have 196 is equal to c squared. Take the square root of both sides. The square root of c squared will give you c, and it will be equivalent or equal to the square root of 196. And the square root of 196 is 14. So 14 becomes the value of c, which question number B asks for. Formerly, we treated substitutions as a sub-topic in changing subject formula. But now we want to enter into changing the subject formula in equations properly. And we are starting with this question that says that we should make x the subject of the formula in y is equal to x minus 3. What you are going to do is bring out the equation. The equation is y is equal to x minus 3. You are asked to make x the subject formula. That means prepare and keep x only in one side of the equation, either the right hand side or the left hand side. But it is most appropriate to put x in the right hand side of the equation, and every other part of this formula should not be in the right hand side. In trying to do that, add 3 to both sides so that you eliminate minus 3 and leave only x in the right hand side. That will give you y plus 3 will now be equal to x, because if you add 3 to this place, that plus 3 will cancel minus 3 and leave you with only x. So you can rearrange this and have x in the left hand side being equal to y plus 3 in the left hand side. And that is the end of that question that says that you should make x the subject formula in y is equal to x minus 3. This is the next question. And the question says make L the subject formula, the subject of the formula in V is equal to half LBH. This L should be made the subject formula. Bring out the equation. We have V is equal to 1 over 2 LBH. Write this in a fraction form. It's going to give you V is equal to 1 times L times B times H all over 2. That is the other way of writing half LBH. It's going to give you V is equal to 1 times anything is that thing. So you have LBH all over 2. You can still have this as all over 1 as its fraction form. The next thing is cross multiply. V times 2 will give you 2V. You have 2V is equal to 1 times LBH will give you LBH. Now, since the question says you should make L the subject of the formula, that means you are going to divide both sides of the equation by BH, because that is the only thing you do to eliminate BH from the right-hand side of the equation and leave only L on the right-hand side of the equation. When you do that, you discover that you have only L in the right-hand side of the equation, and the other side of the equation will now be 2V all over BH. You have made L the subject of the formula here. If you like, you can just write L in the left hand side is equal to 2v all over bh in the right hand side. This is the next question we have. This question said that we should make A the subject of the formula in V is equal to U plus AT. This is a very, very prominent formula in physics. Motion. When you are going to grow from this level to the level, maybe in SS1 when you'll be studying physics, you are going to see this formula. Okay, if you are to make A the subject formula in it, bring out the formula. The formula is V is equal to U plus AT. Subtract U from both sides so that you have only AT in the right hand side. You are going to have V minus U is equal to 8. What we did here is we subtracted U from both sides. If you subtract U from here, you eliminate this U, and you'll be left with only 80 in the right hand side. 80 means A times T. So if this is A times T, and you are to make A the subject formula, divide both sides by T, because that's the only thing you do to eliminate T, and be left with only A in the right hand side. So I'm going to have in the left hand side V minus U all over T will now be equal to A. What you did here is to divide both sides by T. When you do it here, you eliminate this T and you'll be left with only A. You can rearrange the equation to be A is equal to V minus U all over T. And that is the end of this equation. Make R the subject of the formula A. W is equal to 200R plus 5900. The first thing you do here is to eliminate 5900. And if you want to eliminate 5900, what you do is to subtract 5900 from both sides. If you subtract 5900 from the right hand side of the equation, you eliminate this, and you'll be left with only 200R in the right hand side of the equation, and you have W minus 5900 in the left hand side of the equation. 200R means 200 times R. Since it is R that needed to be made the subject formula, what you're going to do this to eliminate 200 is to divide both sides of the equation by 200. And if you do that, you discover that you have only R in the right hand side of the equation. And in the left hand side, you're going to have W minus 5900 now divided by the 200. You have made R the subject of the formula. If you like, you bring R to the left hand side and write is equal to W minus 5900 all over 200. That is all about this. Make X the subject of the formula A. A is equal to the square root of 2x. Bring out the formula. The formula is A is equal to the square root of 2x. If you want to remove this square root sign, square both sides. If you square both sides, the left hand side of the equation becomes A squared. It will now be equal to cancelling out the sign of square root. Now that you have had this, the next thing you do to be left with only x in the right hand side of the equation is to divide both sides of the equation by 2. And if you do, you'll be left with only x here, and in the left hand side you have A squared all over 2. In other words, x is A squared divided by 2. Make x the subject of the formula in y is equal to 4ax squared. Bring the equation. The equation is y is equal to 4ax squared. It is x that is needed to be made the subject formula. So try to do all you could to leave x in one side of the equation. First of all, what you do is you divide both sides by 4a so as to eliminate 4a from the right hand side of the equation. it's going to give you y all over 4a. It will now be equal to x squared. The next thing is find the square roots of both sides. Square root of x squared will give you x. That means in the right hand side of the equation you have x. While in the left hand side you are going to have the square root of y over 4a. If you like, you can go further and say x is equal to the square root of y all over 4a. Make a the subject of the formula in x into x plus a, bracket closes, is equal to ab. Bring out the equation. The equation is x into x plus a, bracket closes, is equal to ab. The first thing you do here now, remove the bracket. Use x to multiply all you have inside the bracket. X times x will give you x squared. X times a will give you plus xa or ax. Is now equal to ab. Eliminate ax from the left hand side of the equation. If you want to do that, that means you are going to subtract ax from both sides of the equation. That will leave you with x squared only in the left hand side of the equation, and it's going to be equal to ab, which you have in the right hand side, now minus ax. Factorize ab minus ax. In doing that, bring out what they have in common. You can see that there's a in ab and there's a in ax. Bring out the a. Open a bracket. You now have b minus x. If you multiply out this, you get back ab minus ax. Remember that is equal to x squared. Remember, it is a that the equation told you to make the subject formula. That means in this case, you are going to divide both sides by b minus x because it is multiplying a. That is the only thing you do to leave only a in the right hand side of the equation. That is going to give you a left here, and in the left hand side you have a squared minus b minus x. You can leave the answer like this. If you like, you can go further to say a is equal to x squared minus divided by b minus x. Make h the subject of the formula in d is equal to the square root of 3h all over 2. Bring out the formula. The formula is d is equal to the square root of 3h divided by 2. The first thing you do here is this. Square both sides, because the square root of a number multiplied by the square root of the same number will give you the number. So if you square both sides, you are going to have 3h all over 2 only in the right hand side of the equation. While in the left hand side, you are going to have d squared. So d squared will now be 3h all over 2. Remember that d squared means d squared all over 1 in fraction form. At this level, the next thing you do is you cross multiply. 2 times d squared will give you 2d squared. And it's going to be equal to 3h times 1, which will give you 3h. Look very closely. The equation says we should make h the subject formula, and already you have 3h in the right hand side of the equation. For you to have only h in the right hand of the equation, what you're going to do is you divide both sides by 3 so as to eliminate 3 from the right hand side. When you do that, you'll be left with only h in the right hand side. And the left hand side, you have 2d squared divided by 3. If you like, you can go ahead and have it to be h in the left hand side is equal to 2d squared all over 3. The next question says that we should make h the subject of the formula in S is equal to 2 pi r into r plus h. Bring out the equation. The equation is S is equal to 2 pi r into r plus h. The first thing you do is divide both sides of the equation by 2 pi r. If you do so, you are going to eliminate 2 pi r from the right-hand side of the equation. You are going to have S all over 2 pi r will now give you r plus h. The next thing, remember it was h that was asked that we should make the subject formula. For you to have only h in the right-hand side of the equation, you are going to subtract both sides by r so as to eliminate r. When you do that, you are going to see that you have only h in the right-hand side of the equation, while in the left-hand side you have s all over 2 pi r minus r. You can go ahead and have it to be h is equal to s all over 2 pi r minus r. Make u the subject of the formula in S is equal to half into u plus v, bracket closes, v. Bring out the formula. S is equal to 1 over 2, bracket opens, u plus v, bracket closes t. That's the formula. Rearrange this. The better way to write this is S means S all over 1 in fraction form is equal to, the meaning of this is u plus v inside bracket, outside bracket t all over 2. That is the meaning of this. At this juncture, cross multiply. 2 times s will give you 2s. It will now be equal to u plus v into t. Divide both sides by t, both sides of the equation. You're going to have 2s all over t is equal to u plus v. You have eliminated t from the right-hand side. The equation says you should make u the subject formula. So in order to have only u in the right-hand side of the equation, subtract both sides by v. So you are going to have the left-hand side 2s all over t minus v will now be equal to u. And that is the end of the equation. If you like, you can write u in the right-hand side is equal to 2s all over t minus v in the right-hand side. Sorry, u in the left-hand side, then 2x all over t minus v in the right-hand side. Make z the subject of the formula in x is equal to the square root of y squared plus z squared. Bring out the equation. The equation is x is equal to the square root of y squared plus z squared. The first thing you do here is, so when you square the square root of y squared plus z squared, you are going to have y squared plus z squared. When you do that, you find out that in the right-hand side of the equation, you'll be left with y squared plus z squared. While in the left hand, you're going to have x squared. Remember, we are told to make z the subject of the formula. So in this case, what you're going to do to leave only z squared in the right-hand side of the equation is to subtract both sides by y squared. So when you do that, you're going to discover that in the left-hand side, you're going to have x squared minus y squared will now be equal to z squared. The next level is z squared. Find its square root, or find the square root of both sides of the equation, because it is only when you find the square root of z squared that you have z, which the equation says you should make the subject formula. That means in the right-hand side of the equation, we are going to have z, which is the square root of z squared. While in the left-hand side, we are going to have the square root of x squared minus y squared. If you like, then go ahead and have z in the left-hand side of the equation, which is going to be equal to the square root of x squared minus y squared. Make u the subject of the formula in 1 over u plus 1 over v plus is equal to 2 all over f. Bring out the equation. The equation is 1 all over u plus 1 all over v is equal to 2 all over f. The first thing you do here is subtract 1 over v from both sides so as to leave only 1 all over u in the left-hand side of the equation. That will give you 1 all over u in the left-hand side of the equation will now be equal to 2 all over f, which is already in the right-hand side, then minus 1 all over v. Simplify the right-hand side. Simplifying is find the LCM of f and v, which is f times v, and f times v will give you fv. F divides fv. F will cancel f and leave you with v. V times 2 will give you 2v. Bring down minus. V divides fv. V will cancel v and leave you with f. F times 1 will leave you with only f. Remember, in the left-hand side, you have 1 all over u. At this junction, you can cross multiply. Fv times 1 will leave you with fv, and is equal to u into 2v minus f. That is the meaning of multiplying u and 2v minus f. Remember that the equation says you should make u the subject formula. In this case, since u is multiplying all the things you have inside the bracket, that means you are going to divide both sides of the equation by what you have inside the bracket so as to eliminate what you have inside the bracket. If you do that, you are going to discover that you are going to have only u left in the right-hand side of the equation. And fv all over 2v minus f will now be in the left-hand side of the equation. If you like, you can rearrange, writing u in the left-hand side and bringing fv all over 2v minus f to the right-hand side of the equation. Make y the subject of the formula in x is equal to 1 over 4 of the square root of y all over a. Bring out the equation. You have x is equal to 1 over 4 of y all over a. The first thing you do here is you divide both sides of the equation by 1/4. The left-hand side, you have x divided by 1 over 4, which will now be equal to the square root of y all over a divided by, when you have divided the right-hand side or the left-hand side with 1 over 4, that means you have eliminated 1 over 4 from here. So what you'll be left with is the square root of 1 y all over a in the right-hand side of the equation. What this means is x all over 1 times 4 all over 1. When you change the sign of division to that of multiplication, you invert the fraction that follows it. This is going to give you is equal to the square root of y all over a. X times 4 will give you 4x. Is equal to the square root of y all over a. Remember, it was y that we were asked to make the sorted formula. If you want to remove this sign of square root, what you're going to do is you square both sides. If you square the square root of y all over a, you'll be left with y all over a. That means in the right-hand side of the equation, you'll be left with y all over a. Y in the left-hand side, you are going to have 4x squared. Let's bring this thing here. We have 4x squared is equal to y all over a. Since the question says we should make y the subject of the formula, what we're going to do here is, you know that this means all over y in fraction form, just cross multiply. A times 4x squared will give you 4x squared a, and that is going to be y. If you like, you can now rearrange it that y is equal to 4x squared a. Make n the subject of the formula in n squared minus 1 all over m is equal to 4. Bring out the equation. The equation is n squared minus 1 all over m is equal to 4. You can write 4 in fraction form. Cross multiply. 1 times all the things you have up there will give you n squared minus 1. Will now be equal to 4 times m will give you 4m. The equation says we should make n the subject of the formula. Eliminate minus 1, and you do that by adding 1 to both sides. When you do, you'll be left with n squared in the left hand side is equal to 4m plus 1. Now you are going to find the square root of both sides so as to eliminate the square that n has in the left hand side. When you do that, you'll be left with only n in the left hand side, and in the right hand side you are going to have the square root of m, 4m plus 1, and you have finished. Make h the subject of the formula in the formula for surface area of cone given by a is equal to pi r into the square root of h squared plus r squared. In this case, the first thing you do is divide both sides by pi r so as to eliminate pi r from the right hand side of the equation. By doing that, in the left hand side of the equation, we are going to have a is equal to, a divided by pi r will be equal to the square root of h squared plus r squared. The next thing you do now is square both sides. It is only by squaring both sides that you'll be able to eliminate this sign of square root. When you do that, in the left hand side you're going to have a divided by pi r everything squared will be equal to h squared plus r squared. At this juncture, the next thing you do, remember that it is h that we are asked to make the subject formula. You are going to subtract r squared from both sides so as to eliminate r squared from the right hand side of the equation. When you do that, you're going to have a all over pi r all squared, then minus r squared will now give you h squared only left in the right hand side of the equation. The last stage is find the square root of both sides, because it is only in finding the square root of both sides that you are going to have only h in one side of the equation, which will be the right hand side of the equation. When you do that, you are going to have the square root of a all over pi r all squared minus r squared will now give you h. If you like, you write h in the left hand side of the equation is equal to the square root of a all over pi r all squared minus r squared.